Alright guys, so this is A66 and I'm going to do number 10. 2x plus 3y is less than negative 9. So the first thing I'm going to do is say that it can't be equal to, therefore I know I have a dotted line. So there we go. Alright, next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to change my colored pen because I want to, and I have 2x plus 3y, I'm going to say this time it's equal to negative 9. So I look and I say this one isn't easy to do in finding my x and y intercepts because that coefficient on x does not go evenly into that negative 9. So knowing that, I'm not going to bother to do it by finding an x-intercept and a y-intercept, because the x-intercept is going to be a fraction, so I don't really want a fraction there. So I'm going to put it in y-intercept form, which means, so I'm going to put it into y-intercept form, or slope-intercept, y-intercept, there we go, form, in which case I'm going to isolate my y. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 2x from both sides. And that's going to, those 2x minus 2x is 0, and I get 3y is equal to negative 2x minus 9. So I just wrote my negative 2x first, because that's the way I usually see it. Okay, the only thing keeping me from having an isolated y now is that 3, and I can see here that I'm multiplying by that 3, so in order to undo it, I'm going to go ahead and divide everybody by a 3. Okay, so that's going to give me 1y, or I'm going to write that as just y, is equal to negative 2/3 x, and 9 divided by 3, right? So that's a minus, and I end up with negative 3. Okay. Therefore, I know my y-intercept is equal to negative 3, and my slope, which is my change in y over my change in x, is equal to negative 2/3. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to grab my black pen, and I'm going to draw my axes here. So it looks something like this. There we go. And let's go ahead and graph it now. So I'm going to come down here, and I know my y-intercept is a negative 3. So I go 1, 2, 3. There's my y-intercept, right? And it's equal to negative 3. And then my slope is a negative 2/3. So I'm going to go down 2 and over 1, 2, 3. I have that point right there. And 3, 2, and I know, let's do it one more time, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, I have that point right there, and I know back over here I said it had to be dotted, so I'm going to draw a dashed or a dotted line coming through those points, and there it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and choose Mr. EB. I can choose the point 0, 0, because it is not on the line. So I'm going to take that point 0, 0, and I'm going to see if it's part of my solution set. So let's go ahead and plug it into that original inequality, which said 2x plus 3y is less than negative 9. So I plug in my 0, 0. Well, x is equal to 0. And then I have plus 3, and y is also 0. And that has to be less than negative 9. There it is. I got it in there. And now that gives me, 0 plus 0 is less than negative 9. And that is false. So I know 0, 0 is not a solution. That's what I know. So when it comes time to shade, right, I shade so that I don't include this point because it is not a solution, in which case I'm going to shade the other side here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what my solution would look like. So it's any point that lies within that shaded region. So for instance, you know, if I was to plug in this point right here, which is, you know, 0, negative 5, I should get a true solution, in which case, you know, I have 2 times, so let's go ahead and do that. 2 times 0 gives me 0, plus 3 times negative 5, that's negative 15, and sure enough, negative 15 is less than negative 9, so it would work. All right, so I think the question that I am going to ask you is, given that I have the equation 2x plus 3y is less than negative 9, why did I put this in y-intercept to graph and not put it into, and not just find the x-intercept and the y-intercept? And the reason for that, again, guys, is because 2 didn't go, oops, I meant to not do that. I meant to use my laser pointer. That it's because 2 doesn't go evenly into negative 9, in which case my y-intercept would have been a fraction, and that wouldn't have been a very pretty graph. All right, that takes care of that one, guys. I even told you what I'm going to ask you on your quiz, and now we'll go ahead and do the next problem. All right, so I'm going to do number 21, which says negative 5x plus 4y is less than negative 24. So the first thing I know is that my line is dotted because it cannot equal. So there we go. That's the first thing. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. And once again, guys, I'm going to solve this by putting it in y-intercept form because negative 5 does not go evenly into negative 24. So my y-intercept isn't going to be an integer, and I don't really want to be plotting a little fraction on the as my x-intercept. So in this case here, guys, I'm going to go ahead and put it in y-intercept form. So let's go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and use a different color. So I have negative 5x plus 4y is equal to negative 24. So I'm going to put it in y-intercept form. So I'm going to, that means I'm going to isolate my y. So in order to do that, I'm going to move that 5x to the other side. And that's, those guys cancel. Negative 5x plus 5x, of course, is 0. And I get 4y is equal to 5x minus 24. So once again here, guys, when I do this, I have, you know, I just wrote my 5x first because that's kind of the traditional way of writing the equation. Okay, so at this point, I see that y is almost by itself except for that 4, and I'm multiplying the y by 4. So to undo that process, I'm going to divide everybody by 4. And that gives me, of course, 4 over 4 is 1. 1 times y is equal to 5/4 x. And then 20 minus, and then 24 divided by 6 gives me a 6. Okay, now I know my y-intercept is equal to negative 6. And that gives me the point 0. Negative 6 on my graph. And my slope, right, is equal to the change in y over the change in x, and that's going to be equal to 5/4. So let's go ahead and graph this now. I'll make it green. I go down to my y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's my y-intercept. There's the point 0, negative 6. And then my, wow, that doesn't look, negative 6 there. And now my slope is 5/4 in my change in y, right? I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my change in y. is equal to 5. And now I have to do my change in x. My change in x, right, is 4. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my change in x. Those are my 2 points right there. I'm going to go ahead and draw my graph. So this is a dotted line through here. So I'm going to go dot, 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 dot. And there is my line. All right, I see right off the bat, right, that the point 0, 0 is not on the line, so I can go ahead and plug that in. So my equation, once again, is, let's go ahead and I'll write it in orange because that was easy to see. So my equation was negative 5x plus 4y is less than negative 24. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in the point 0, 0. So when I do that, I get negative 5. My x value I said was 0, right? There it is. Plus 4, and my y value once again is 0, right? There it is. And that has to be less than negative 24. That's a negative sign there. So this gives me, 0 plus 0 is less than negative 24, and of course that is false, right? So I know 0, 0 is not a solution. So I don't want that. I don't want 0, 0 to be a solution, so I can't shade going this direction, because if I shade it up here, 0, 0 would be part of my solution, but it's not. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to shade so it's not included and it's here. So I shade everything down here. So anything in this section down here is going to work. So for instance, this point here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So this is the point 5, comma, negative 3. Now when I plug that in, I should get a true solution. So if I plug in the point 5, comma, negative 3, I'm going to get negative 5 times 5 plus 4 times negative 3. I ran out of room. Is less than negative 24. Sure enough, I get negative 25 plus negative 12 is less than negative 24. I get negative 37 is less than negative 24. Oh boy, howdy. And that checks and it's true. So I proved that that is in fact part of my solution. So the question you can expect me to ask on this particular equation is, let's see, what do I want to say? How did I decide if I was going to shade above or below my line here? And, the answer would be you checked the point 0, 0, and you got a false read, and therefore you knew 0, 0 could not be part of your solution, so you had to shade below the line so it didn't include the point 0, 0. All right, I told you I was going to draw something, so I'm going to draw something for you, and this will be the extra credit on the graph. So here I go in my little drawing mode. Here it is, and you can tell me tomorrow for extra credit, what did I draw? I wonder if there's like a fill button on this thing. So here it is. in all its, oh, come on, glory. I drew for you this beautiful ladybug. So the answer tomorrow to the extra credit is ladybug. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to get this up on to Blackboard for you. All right, I'll see you guys. Bye. Thanks for watching.